Okay, good morning, everyone. I'd like to call the September 10th Finance Committee meeting to order. But first, we do have a quorum of the members physically present. I'll entertain a motion to permit those members not physically present due to personal illness or disability, employment purposes, or the business of the board, family or other emergency, or unexpected childcare obligations to participate by video or teleconference. Do I have a motion to let Member Zayan? Okay, I have a motion by member Yu, second by member Rutledge. All those in favor? Opposed? Okay, the motion passes. Welcome, member Zay. And can we have a roll call, please?
Member Cahill, member Chaplin,
Here.
member Childress, member Covert,
Here.
member Desart, member Eckhoff, member Evans, member Galassi,
Here.
member Garcia, member Guston, member Krajewski, member LaPlante, member Ozag,
Here.
member Rutledge, member Schwarzy, member Tornatori, member Yu,
Here.
and member Zay.
Here.
Great, we have a quorum. Do we have any public comment this morning? No public comment. So under Chairwoman remarks, I just wanted to mention, we've had a lot of questions about the budget and the process. So next Tuesday, September 24th, the chair will present her budget. At that time, then, we will have the opportunity in finance to go through the budget and your committee meetings to, please take that opportunity if you want to, look through the budget, make any requests or changes, but that's the time to go ahead and do that. So I would maybe recommend that if you're on a committee and you want to go through a committee budget, maybe talk to that chair and have an item placed on the budget for budget discussion. We'll have an item on our agenda, just like we did last year and previous years, for a budget discussion for the next few meetings until we pass the budget at the end of November. So I hope that makes it a little clearer for everyone. Okay, great. So with that, we're going to move on to budget presentations. And this morning, I'm happy to welcome Chris Boucher from Marsh McLennan. And he has some great news for us, I think. Take it away, Chris.
I do have great news. Thanks, Ms. Chaplin, and good morning to the members of the county board. Again, my name is Chris Boucher. I'm with Marsh McLennan. Our firm is privileged to serve as the employee benefits advisor to the County of DuPage. Before I step into today's report, it is good news. It is specific to the county's 2025 employee benefits renewal. I just wanted to take a quick moment and acknowledge the members of the county's internal healthcare work group who our organization has been partnering with over the last few months to put together today's content and ultimately the 2025 recommendation that we're going to put forward for your consideration. Members of the internal healthcare work group include Ms. Chaplin, Mr. Zay, Nick Kottmeyer, Jeff Maritnovich, and Chris Clevenger and her human resource team members. Special thanks to those individuals for their time, for their commitment on this very complex, this very important budgetary topic. And with that, let's jump into today's material. So before we look forward into 2025, we want to walk you back to the meeting that we had around this time last year in preparation for the county's 2024 employee benefits renewal. And if you look at that top box, I stood in front of this committee and shared that for 2024 and absent of program changes, the county was projecting an increase to the employee benefit expenses of roughly 14.4%, around $3.85 million, if no changes were implemented. We walked through a series of cost reduction alternatives for your consideration. Changes were adopted. Based on those changes, the revised projection going from 14.4% to an increase of 5.1%, or $2.26 million, a pretty significant adjustment. I won't step you through all the modifications that were introduced effective January 1st, but there were plan changes made to the HMO and PPO plan designs. We introduced the primary care physician copay on the HMO, prescription drug modifications for both the HMO and PPO. And importantly, we increased the employee contributions, what they pay through payroll to participate in the health plan. We increased contributions across the board for the medical pharmacy plan by 3.5%. That was the second time employee contributions had been increased for county employees in the last 8 years. Moving forward with the changes, we also made an adjustment to the contributions for the dental plan. The spousal surcharge, this is applicable to working spouses of employees who have access to their own employer-sponsored coverage, but would like to be on the county's health plan. They're welcome to join the health plan, but there's an additive charge of $150 now, which was an increase from $100 in 2023. And you'll notice the numbers. We had roughly 11% of employees carrying spouses that were paying the surcharge in December. The number did not change in spite of the increase to the surcharge. Also in that top right box, you'll notice the opt-out bonus. So we formerly had an opt-out bonus for those who are eligible for medical pharmacy coverage that waive that coverage. That opt-out bonus was $50 per employee per month. We eliminated it altogether, and you'll notice that the opt-out rate barely changed at all. So this is a testament that the reason folks were opting out wasn't because you were paying them to do so. It was likely because they had a better option. Bottom left, no changes to the vision program, and bottom right, no modifications to the life insurance program with the Hartford. Wow, that is really difficult to see from here, but I'll do my best. So this is a look back over the last 4 years of where we started, that top row, what the initial increase was, the value of the changes in the middle based on the board's resolutions. So those are the cost savings changes that were instituted. And then we net out the difference at the very bottom. So you can see that dating back to 2021 and taking us to 2024, the county has saved roughly $2.8 million in cost reduction, bringing the overall increase over a 4-year period to around $3.6 million or 3.5%. So how is the plan performing? So the county's medical program and the dental program are self-funded, which means that we hire Blue Cross Blue Shield and Delta Dental to process claims. We pay them an administrative fee every month to do that. And then whatever the claims are, the county absorbs that exposure. So year to date through June, you can see we are 3.7% or roughly $690,000 below budget. On the medical, that's the top left. And then at the bottom left through June, the dental plan is also performing very well, nearly 8% below budget. That's a favorable variance of around $70,000. So the plan is performing well. What's the difference, Chris? Last year at this time, you came in with a relatively high increase, over 14%. Year to date, we are performing very well. What has changed? What has ultimately changed is our large claimant activity. So large claimant in this regard on this particular slide, this is specific to the HMO. This is looking at claimants who in the plan year, January up to year to date, have accumulated about $100,000 or more in medical plan expenses. And you can see there are 9 of those individuals, January through June, again, $100,000 or more in paid claims. That group of 9 individuals represents 0.2% of the total enrolled population, and they're responsible for about 14% of the county's HMO spend. Now, what's different is that this time last year, we had 16 large claimants on the HMO, and the total spend wasn't about 1.4 where it's at today. It was closer to $2.4 million. So the large claimant activity has dampened on the HMO. And here is the year over year large claimant activity. You can see in 2021, 26 claimants over 100,000. And you can see that that number has escalated each of the last couple of years. And here in 2024, incomplete year, again, through June, 9 claimants. But if we continue on this trajectory, we would be at 18, which would be a new low water mark for the county. That's the HMO plan. This is the PPO plan. 18 claimants over $50,000. We've set the threshold for illustrative purposes a little bit lower. 18 over 50. This plan has about 20% of the county's overall enrollment. The other 80% are in the HMO. We know that these folks are going to be typically a little bit more high risk than the HMO participants. That's why they're selecting the PPO. They want that open access. They want to see whatever provider they want to see whenever they want to see them. They don't want the gatekeeper, the primary care physician stepping in the way of the care that they want to have rendered. So we have more high claimants in this plan, but 18 through June last year at this time, we were at 20. So again, added all together, large claimant activity is down. And here are the year over year results. How about that for consistency? The next slide, the county's health plan costs have changed in the aggregate because your headcount has changed year over year. So how do we compare ourselves to ourselves and measure our year over year performance? Well, the way that we do that is we distill the aggregate numbers into a per employee per year metric. So this takes us from 2019 all the way through 2024 year to date, annualized. At the top of each bar, we're showing the gross costs for the medical plan. In orange is the employee share of the cost, and in blue is the county's employer net share. And at the top of each of the bars, you can see we're illustrating the distribution of the employee-employer share. Many, many years ago, the county set sail in a direction to get to an 80-20 split with the employees. We had some conversation on that very topic last year in this committee. And you can see 2024 year to date, we are exactly where we wanted to be. We are at 2020, but you are 80-20, but you see these numbers and you can see how they have escalated over time. Bottom left corner, we're looking at how has the plan performed against itself year over year. We're using this compound annual growth rate, or CAGR metric, which is typically used for investment purposes. But what it's telling you is that on average per year over this 5.5-year review period, the county's healthcare costs have increased by 5.4% per year. On the next slide, we've taken those gross cost numbers, the numbers at the top of each of the bars, and we're comparing them to national benchmark data. In purple print is national benchmark data for large employers. This is going to be employers regardless of their industry, manufacturers, law firms, municipalities, but they have to be large, over 500 employees. And then in the fuchsia print, we have large county governments. And then we've reposted the counties, DuPage County's numbers in the green. And you can see that we've been hanging out historically below national benchmarks in terms of our cost. In 2022, we split the difference between large employers and the county benchmark. And then last year, the numbers weren't what we wanted them to be, and they were much higher than benchmark. But you can see year to date 2024, the trajectory has changed quite dramatically. So what I'm here really today to talk to you about is our 2025 cost projections. I hope you'll be delighted to learn that across all the programs, the medical pharmacy, the dental, the vision, the life insurance, all in, we are projecting the county's employer net costs to move from 28.6 million to 29.1 million. That's an adjustment of 550,000 or 1.9% if the county does nothing. We don't make any modifications to our vendor relationships. We don't change the plan designs. We do not change the employee contributions. How did we get there? I'm glad that you asked. Here's how. We do the underwriting in-house for the county's self-funded plan. We look at 24 months of claims, taking us from July of 22 through June of 2024. We weight the most recent 12 months of claims at 80%. The more historical 12 months at 20%. We know the cost of healthcare goes up, and so we anticipate that. Everyone's talking about inflationary trend. We've been talking about in the benefit space for years. We just call it trend. You can see we have trended the claims into 2025 with a 3.1% on the HMO for the medical, on the PPO 6.1%, and then you can see the pharmacy trend. So we're already projecting costs going up. We should do that. And you can see overall down at the very bottom, we're projecting HMO costs to increase by 1.9% and the PPO by 0.4%. We're projecting a decrease on the dental. We tried to fit as many numbers as we could on this slide, and I think we were successful. Thank you so much. But this is looking at the 24 months of claims that are included in our underwriting for the HMO plan. Won't spend a lot of time here, but if you work your way from left to right, we have the enrollment by month, by coverage tier in the HMO plan. We have the medical paid claims, the pharmacy paid claims in that respective month. We note any stop loss reimbursements received. We add them together to get the net paid. And then we take that net paid and we divide it by the enrollment to get the net paid PEPM, per employee per month. And then for convenience, we have labeled in the far right-hand column the worst 10 months per employee per month. And when you look at this exhibit, you'll notice that most of the unfavorable experience is behind us. As a matter of fact, down in the bottom right corner, when we compare the two 12-month experience periods, you can see that HMO spend per employee per month between the two 12-month periods has decreased by 3%. That's the HMO, the PPO even better. Per employee per month cost between the two 12-month experience periods decreasing at 4.7%. So that's the claims. The other component is the fixed costs, again, that we pay Blue Cross Blue Shield to process claims, to provide stop loss protection. There's a lot of numbers on this slide as well, but the important piece is that fixed costs are projected to decrease for both the HMO and the PPO. HMO decreasing by roughly $578,000 or 8.8%. PPO decreasing by roughly $89,000 or 40%. How the heck are we getting away with a decrease on the fixed costs? So integrated in the fixed cost component is a pharmacy manufacturer rebate. So your rebates on brand name drugs that have a manufacturer rebate, it's passed through to the county. So you receive those numbers or those monies back. And Blue Cross Blue Shield is projecting that those rebates are going to increase by 35% for the HMO and nearly 20% for the PPO. And that's a full offset to the other projected increases on the fixed costs. And then finally, the last fixed cost component is on the stop loss. We're going to talk about this, I believe it might even be the next slide. But 2024 to 2025, the stop loss renewal for the HMO increasing by 18%, PPO increasing by nearly 25%. All those numbers that I've shared with you, the claims, the fixed costs on the prior slide, the fixed costs on this current slide, are all included in the math. Again, aggregate costs increasing by 1.9%, $550,000. So last year, we talked about the prospect of changing the county's stop loss protection for the PPO from $75,000 to $125,000. So the way stop loss protection works is it sits on top of the self-funded plan. And when one claimant gets to a certain level, in 2023, that level was $75,000. Once they get to $75,000 of paid claims in the year, we detach from that risk and it becomes the responsibility of the reinsurance carrier, and that's Blue Cross Blue Shield. So we did an evaluation and we thought, based on the price point, that it would make sense for the county to take the specific stop loss for the PPO plan from $75,000 up to $125,000. So when you do that, you're absorbing more risk, an additional $50,000 of paid claims exposure per participant, but we're taking on less premium. So we pay less for the coverage. We thought it made sense, but you never know. When we were looking at this in 2023 for 2024, I'm pleased to report that 6 months into the year, this is the bottom right corner, it proved to be a sound decision to the tune of about $800,000. So we made a very good decision. You made a very good decision. The final cost assumptions, no changes to the vision. It's a fully insured program with Superior. We are in year 2 of a 4-year rate guarantee. We are assuming in our projections that the surcharge programs, the spousal and the tobacco surcharge, do not change. And the life and disability program is also under a rate guarantee with the Hartford, so no rate adjustment there. Here's the ledger. We are showing you down the left-hand margin each of the lines of coverage, the medical, the dental, the vision. Each one is broken out by the total or the gross cost, the county's employer net cost, and then the employee share of the cost. We're comparing that second column, the 2024 budget, to our 2025 budget projection. Bottom right corner, do nothing, 1.9%, $550,000. This is the starting point for today's conversation. The first idea that we want to put forward for your consideration is tied to Illinois House Bill 5285. So this little-known bill permits the county to have dependents under the age of 26 who are unmarried and who are not full-time college students. It permits you to have them on the vision and the dental plan. But today, you are applying a surcharge. So again, this is applicable to dependents who are unmarried under the age of 26 that are not college students that want to be enrolled in dental and vision. When they want to be enrolled in dental, there's an additional monthly surcharge of $37. For the vision, it's an adjustment of $4. You don't have to charge this surcharge. This is a choice that the county made many, many years ago. Feedback from human resources, among others, has told us that this is a very cumbersome process to administer to try to get employees that want to cover those dependent children over the age of 26 to get that evidence of student status in college. It's a big employee dissatisfier, and our recommendation is to do away with this program for 2025. What would be the cost impact if we eliminate that provision? Well, you can see up at the top, this is the historical collections that the county has gained courtesy of 5285. 2020, $95,000 of additional contribution revenue. 2023, roughly $134,000. Year-end 2024, based on the current enrollment, we're projected to pick up about $99,000 of contribution revenue. So ultimately, if we eliminated this program, the county would lose out on those monies. But we think, given the renewal, 1.9%, $550,000, that this is the right time to do away with this administrative burden. Again, a real employee dissatisfier. The other item that we're submitting for the board's consideration is around the telemedicine program. So this became really popular on or around 2020 when we were all sheltering in place and didn't have access to our providers. Telemedicine is where you could, via phone, via Zoom, via some form of virtual technology, visit with a provider. The county has had a telemedicine program for many years now. The administrator is TeleDoc, and the program is available to all employees and their family members who are enrolled in the health plan. Important data point on this exhibit is that while this program, at least at a high level, looks to be very valuable, the utilization has been very light. You can see in 2022, we had 163 visits to TeleDoc, 2023, 166, and through June of this year, we are at 75. If we were to annualize that, we would be even worse than 2022, 2023. The total cost of this program is $49,000 a year. So the juice to us doesn't seem worth the squeeze for that level of utilization. And our recommendation is to eliminate the engagement with TeleDoc, maintain a telemedicine partnership, but through Blue Cross Blue Shield of Illinois. They have a telemedicine partner named MD Live. We would still set up the program so that it would have no expense to the employees. The county would pay 52 cents per employee per month, and then there would be a pass-through expense to the county of $48 per visit. Importantly, this telemedicine feature would not be available to HMO participants. Why? That's 80% of our population. That seems really important. Why can't they have access to this? They can't have access to this program because most HMO physician groups have their own virtual technology. And so we would simply direct our participants to that forum versus the MD Live program. So as proposed, if we were to eliminate the engagement with TeleDoc, stand up MD Live through Blue Cross Blue Shield of Illinois for our PPO participants, the cost savings on an annualized basis, looking at our current utilization, would be about $45,000. Further cost reduction solutions. The good news is I'm not going to take you through these slides. Again, we had a lot of conversation within the internal healthcare work group. We looked at plan design modifications. We looked at potential employee contribution adjustments, among other items, and we simply did not think that they made sense. So here on this slide, we looked at the HMO deductible changes or modifications to the out-of-pocket maximum. We looked at, on this next slide, potential plan design changes to the PPO, to the Blue Choice PPO, to the Blue Edge HSA, but none are being recommended for 2025. We also looked at potentially increasing the employee contributions. Again, I mentioned earlier, we increased them by 3.5% across the board for all plans, all coverage tiers, effective January 1st of this year. That was the second time contributions had increased over the last 8 years. But we didn't, again, think that that made sense given the projected renewal increase. Just food for thought, if we don't make an employee contribution increase this year, then we will have some deterioration in that 80-20 split. We will be at 81-19. So the deterioration, yes, but also very, very slight. And these were the contributions that we looked at. We also looked at potential contribution adjustments to the dental. But to bring it all together, and our recommendation for your consideration is to do away with the provision that allows us to apply a surcharge for dental and vision for dependents under the age of 26 under Illinois House Bill 5285, eliminate that provision, and then also sunset the relationship with Teladoc and stand up a relationship with Blue Cross Blue Shield of Illinois through MD-LAG. If those modifications are adopted, the increase for 2025 bubbles up from 1.9% under a do-nothing scenario to a 2.1% increase, or $603,000. I'll pause there because, or do we want to go through the appendix?
Okay, great. So I'm just going to go by row. So Member Cahill.
Thank you very much, Chair. Quick question. So regarding the under 26 and eliminating the surcharge, I was thinking that what if that 25-year-old was working at a company and had an opportunity to have dental and vision at that company?
Yeah.
I would like us to not make it available to them then, because if they can go somewhere else, like my daughter who's on my husband's plan. But I mean, the point is that why should we provide that to them if they can go somewhere else and have it?
Yeah, it's certainly something we could administer. That's a way the plan could be set up. Keeping in mind, though, that the spousal surcharge today for the county is applicable to the medical pharmacy only. So we don't even have a surcharge tied to spouses that have access to their own employer-sponsored coverage for medical and vision. So that would be an adjustment, but certainly something that we could consider.
Have coverage somewhere else, then why would the county pick up 99,000 of that? So that's my recommendation.
Thank you, Member Cahill. Member Galassi.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So that first slide that you showed that had all the numbers, and you said it seemed like the high cost years were behind us. At least that's what the trend was showing.
Yes.
Is that what you're seeing in the industry, and is that due to COVID is my first question.
Yeah, that's a really good question. So we did see a depression in claims in 2020 for most of our clients that are self-funded. And I mentioned it earlier, no one had access to their providers, which did great things for self-funded plans. But what happened was people weren't getting their, annual health maintenance exams, their mammographies, their gynecological exams, their colonoscopies. Those things didn't get performed. And then that created what we believe was an influx of unfavorable activity in 2021, 2022, and 2023. We think things have leveled out in 2024. We think, and the dust has settled now. And so, yes, we believe that this leveling out or even decrease in claimant activity is the result of the aftermath of COVID settling down.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. And then secondly, the telemedicine recommendation that you're making. So if I understand this, what you're suggesting is that the HMO would no longer have access to telemedicine, but that those HMO providers typically have a telemedicine option.
That's correct.
So that's why you're not saying that these HMO participants won't have telemedicine. It will just be through their provider as opposed to this other outside agency.
Exactly right, which would be
Okay.
the preferred mechanism as it was.
Sure.
Because when you're meeting with a telemedicine provider today with Teladoc or even MD Live in the future for the PPO participants, that's not your day in and day out physician. It's not even somebody that's affiliated with the physician group that you partner with. This is an independent third party that just happened to take your call.
Sure.
What we would prefer is that you connect with the provider or at least the physician group that you're working with. And that's what the HMO model does.
Okay, perfect. I just want to make sure that even the HMO participants will have that opportunity, because I know with college students, that the telemedicine is a huge asset. So I don't want to remove that. And then finally, my final comment is, I know you're saying that 8119 is just a small slip, and I can live with that. I just want to say for next year,
Mhm.
I don't want to continue to see a downward trajectory of, getting away from the 80-20, because I think it's important we stay at the 80-20.
That was exactly the conversation that we had in the internal healthcare work group. All right, we feel comfortable letting it go for a year, but this isn't something we want to compound in future years.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Member Glassy. Member Garcia.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for your presentation today. I really appreciate it. I'm going to take the opposite stand in terms of people who are coming out of college or just starting out from their 20 to 26. It's hard sometimes for them to find a job that actually does have the health insurance that we're offering here. So I do like that we're going to continue offering that to them. I think that's something that we should be doing for people like that. Question on that, if they were to find a position that does offer health insurance, they can stop taking it from us,
Mhm.
correct?
Yeah, that would be a qualifying event that would allow the employee to drop the dependent off of their coverage.
Okay, so that's something they can do. And going back to Member Galassi, in terms of the telemedicine, I am on HMO, and yes, they do provide the Teladoc thing. I didn't even realize that this was something that was offered here, quite honestly. So because it's always done through my primary
Mhm.
physician. So I think that's definitely something that we should absolutely go away with. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Member Garcia. Member Yu.
Thank you. My question also has to do with the surcharge for 26-year-olds. Did you say that the bill 5285 or whatever the number was? So that's already an act that's already been passed. And so when you're saying you were eliminating the surcharge, we're actually giving a greater benefit to our employee. Is that
That's
correct?
exactly right.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, that's all. I just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Yu. Member Guston.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you very much for your presentation. The committee did a great job pulling all this together and working with you guys to a place that I think is very, very acceptable and beneficial to the county. I also too agree doing away with the telemarketing portion of it, or telemed portion of it, is important, because most of my chart and Edward Hospital and everybody's got that now. That seemed to be kind of a nuance just because of COVID. So I think being able to benefit from that moving forward is a plus. I also agree that the 2080 should be kind of a staple. The other thing, though, I had a question. You talked about, I believe it was 19 individuals versus 18 individuals
Mhm.
versus from one. What made that number go down? I've got an idea in my head of what it is, but just kind of understanding.
Yeah, so you're referring to the large claimants on the
Yes.
PPO. I
Mhm.
had said that year to date through June, we're at 18. Last year at this time, we were at 19. What's the difference? I mean, it can be a combination of things. It could be someone that had a cancer diagnosis and is now in remission, is no longer using chemotherapy, and so the claimant activity looks different. It could be we had a PPO participant that elected HMO effective January 1st. It could be it's an employee who's no longer an employee of the county and therefore no longer on the health plan. The ways that we get there are infinite, but it's probably one of those three.
Great, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Member Guston. Do we have any other questions in the second row? Okay, I have Member Evans and then Member Rutledge.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Chris, for, I can see there's just so much work that you had to put into there. And then there must have been so many options for you to consider. So thank you for digesting that for us. I have two issues I'd like you to speak to. Number one, can you speak to your experience with any kind of prescription medicine carve-outs that you had to have presented with? My beef is that my prescription is not covered under our HMO. And it's been a nightmare for me. And I have to credit our human resources department because we have a great health advocate that was, trying to get that prescription for me, but she was unsuccessful because it's just not allowed under the HMO. And so I've been under the mercy of the drug manufacturer just giving me samples until I can switch to the PPO. And if that's happening to me, that's got to be happening to our fellow employees. So if there's anything you can speak to about like the cost savings, but the sacrifices that, we have to make as far as like not covering certain prescription medicines.
Yeah, so what you're referring to is the formulary. The formulary is the covered drug list. The formulary for the HMO looks different than the PPO. The PPO, as you had mentioned, is broader. Provides more access to coverage, which is why our large claimant activity looks a little bit different. That's exactly what why people are selecting that option. One, they want the freedom of choice to see the providers, but it also could be formulary related. Ultimately, we're giving employees at the time of open enrollment a choice of plans. And it's important that they understand the differences between the HMO program and the PPO options that are available. We certainly didn't set it up in a way to be limiting or to be limited to participants, but we need to make sure that the employees are really informed and educated of the options and what the differences are between the plans.
So what would the mechanism be for, like, say, an employee who it's open enrollment time and they take a certain medication? What would the mechanism be for them to figure out how to choose an insurance based on what their needs are? Is there a
there's collateral that is distributed through human resources. There's a benefit guide, and in the instance of the formularies, there are links that employees can look at to make sure that the medications that they're on are in fact covered under each of the respective formularies.
Okay, so the link would be on the website of each
plan option.
Each plan option.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. And then let's see. Oh, I just wanted to mention that for the HMOs, I've had more than 100% turnover with my doctors. I don't know what it is with Dooley, but nobody wants to say it Dooley. And so I've had a really hard time, and I'm just speaking for any employees that might have the same issue, that it's really hard to get an appointment with a doctor when they keep turning over. And I do not have a doctor anymore. So I just wanted to put that out there because it's not the fault of any of the insurance companies. It's just kind of everybody keeps turning over their doctors and no one gets to see the same doctor twice.
The provider community is absolutely very stressed right now.
Right.
Whether it be the physicians, the hospitals, no question. This isn't the first time I've heard that.
Thanks.
Thank you, Member Evans. Member Rutledge.
Thank you, Chair Chaplin. And Chris, thanks for your presentation this morning. My question as a reformed smoker is how many people are having to pay the surcharge as tobacco users, and how do you determine whether is that self-identified?
Yes, I'm going to pull up that number right now. It is an attestation at open enrollment. So it is self-reported on our system. I know it's in the front. Oh, there it was.
I guess the point I'm making is that since tobacco users are probably a big drain on our costs.
Yeah.
I think that if we raise that surcharge a little bit, might be the impetus for some of these people to go, it's just not worth it for me anymore. It's a hard thing to quit.
Yeah.
Incentives, I think, are important. And if they're costing us the average more money than that $75, I think that could stand some adjustment.
Yeah, so we have 130 employees that asserted to being regular tobacco users. The surcharge today is $75. I'll tell you just off the top of my head, benchmark is $50 per month. We have a number of clients that have tobacco surcharge programs. And when we conduct seminars and we say, hey, how many of you employers have a tobacco program? And many put up their hands, and then we follow up with, well, how many of you think that employees are quitting smoking because of your program? And all the hands go down. It doesn't necessarily change behavior, but it does collect some additional revenue for the county, for employers to offset what studies have shown will be elevated healthcare expenses for those tobacco users versus non-tobacco users.
Thanks, Chris. I'd like the whole world to stop smoking, but that's just me.
Thank you, Member Rutledge. And the back row, do we have any questions from the back row? Member Krajewski?
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. I'm on the face of it, the numbers look okay. But really to dig into it, I try to understand the pharmacy end of it. And I think I saw in your slides, the 24-month history, looked like the HMO, the medical was like 11.8, the pharmacy was 9 point something, but even the last 12 months, we had 10.3 in medical and 9.8 in pharmacy. And then the PPO is similar. It's almost 50% of the overall cost is drugs. And then you get into, yeah, the costs are the same because I saw there was a huge increase in the rebates that the drug companies are giving, went from like $69 to 90 some dollars. And the PPO also had a big rebate. So trying to dig in and understand the rebates, whether this program and it costs are good or not. And I just don't know. You can maybe help shed some light on it because it seems like costs went up, but the rebates offset it. And then, because it's 50% of the overall costs, I'm not sure what the drug plan is. And are people being pushed to the higher cost ones because the manufacturers are getting bigger dollars, therefore offering the rebates? Or are we driving it to more of the generic where maybe you don't get as much rebates, but our overall costs are going down? And then who's the pharmacy benefit manager? Who's that?
Prime Therapeutics.
Okay, so because I know the drug companies now are giving revenues to these people besides the rebates, and I'm not even sure how much that is, what that's disguised, how they disguise it as it's, additional revenue, it's additional something, but, from my understanding is a lot of those pharmacy benefit managers are getting bigger monies besides the rebates. And I don't even know how to get in to look at that cost or but that's what affects our overall plan. And I don't know. And I mean, maybe educate me down the road for here, but that's the underlying where all the money's at and whether this plan is good or bad. And are we directing people to higher cost drugs because the bigger rebates that are going? I don't know. But clearly they gave us a heck of a lot bigger rebate this year. And that covered the increase in the costs. So, and I know there's a lot of money. And you see, half our costs are drugs. So again, I think that's something that we really should look into and understand how that's working, how much they're getting from the manufacturer, how much we're getting, and clearly we're getting a lot more. But I have a feeling they're getting even a lot more.
Well, Mr. Pedrucci, I know this is your favorite topic, pharmacy. But I'm always
they're disguising it, and it comes down to us. So
this exhibit where you were pointing to the medical versus the pharmacy spend is a little bit misleading. So this is the HMO. The medical claims are, or the pharmacy claims are correct. So you look down at the bottom, about 9.8 million. But you got to remember with the HMO plan, we have the physician service fee. We called it the capitated fee. And so that's a fee that the county pays per employee per month to Blue Cross Blue Shield. So all of the medical activity that is performed within a physician group, that's all encompassed in the physician service fee. And therefore those episodes, those claims don't show up here. These are the actual claims that we pay, but it doesn't account for the physician service fee, which is an additive expense. So if we were to add the physician service fee to the medical proportionately, it wouldn't look like a 50-50 distribution.
Well, either way, it's 12 or no, maybe 13 million when you add the PPO. We're spending 13 or 14 million on drugs. It's a lot of money on drugs.
You threw a lot at me, so I'm going to try to pick them off one at a time. In terms of steerage, are the PBMs trying to steer folks to more expensive medications? No, that wouldn't be our understanding. So the plan design itself
Now,
instead
how do you
of-
know that it's not your understanding? Have you looked at the breakout? of
Well,
it?
I'm not, the doctors prescribe the medications, not the PBM.
Okay.
That's right. It's up to the doctor.
So, you know, I think it would be inappropriate for me to suggest PBMs are intercepting that process and saying, hey, don't use that generic, but
Do
instead.
you know
use-
how much the PBMs are getting from like additional revenue besides rebates that are passed on to us?
So they won't, and whether it be Prime Therapeutics or Express Scripts or CVS
They won't
Caremark,
tell you.
they're not, no, that's their deal with the manufacturers and we don't see that. But what we do see are the numbers on the screen. What we do see are the rebates. I mean, we look at the items that have impact and influence on the county's spend. And that's the only thing that I can speak to intelligently. But the plan design itself is set up in a way so that the cost share structure, whether it be generics or brand names, steers employees to use generics when they're available. So it's a
And
lower
do you
price point.
negotiate that refund for us?
Do we do play a role in that? Yes.
And you're you're a very large company, Marsh.
Yeah.
Is that where you can go to a different PM, whatever they call it, PBMs?
Yeah.
And try to play them off to get a bigger rebate? Because clearly there's a lot more money out there.
So with the HMO, we're not permitted to carve out the pharmacy to a PBM outside of the Blue Cross Blue Shield relationship with Prime Therapeutics.
So Prime is Blue Cross's,
Yes. Blue Cross
Stan-
Blue Shield of Illinois is
and Blue
PBM
Cross
partner.
has what, 80% of Illinois? What do they have?
Thereabouts, yeah. So they don't permit that in HMO environment because the HMO physicians know that formulary so well.
Yeah.
And so that their assertion is that that's what helps keep costs down.
So the only leverage we have is you being so large and
That's
you
right.
throwing your weight behind because you deal with them. all.
I've been working out. Been working out.
Yes. And,
Yeah.
and you know,
No,
remember,
but I mean, that's why, you have a better, than if we have somebody else down
That's
the
right.
street that's not as big as Marsh, we're not gonna get.
well,
the
that's
bigger
why we brought
rebates.
them back.
I appreciate you saying. that.
Yes.
Thank you.
And
No,
yes. And some of these questions too, Brian, these might be questions for our legislative committee with the pharmaceutical industry, you know, to talk about that changes, you know, through our legislative committee. So, yes. So thank you very much.
You,
Yeah. Oh, member Zay, and then I'll get member Desart. Okay, I'll have member Zay, member Eckhoff, and then member Desart. Okay, member Zay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And Madam Chair, thank you for letting me continue on this work group. I know our staff and Marsh does a lot of work, spends a lot of time. I think you brought it up. When we did not have Marsh, we had a totally different outlook on our insurance. I think they do a great job for us every year and really give us every option there is when we have these meetings. I know we had talked about the 80-20 split. I know that's important, but you know, we're having problems getting employees and keeping and retaining employees. And it's not always salary, it's also benefits. And I think we do a great job on trying to keep our benefits competitive with, you know, the large companies and with other large counties. And I think right now, if we were to adjust it with inflation, if we were to give increases in wage increases this year, I mean, and then we give increases again with the employees, that just gets taken away in their checks. So with the high cost of inflation right now, we know a lot of people are struggling. I think this is the right course to go to keep it the way it is, status quo, and again, be grateful that we don't have the huge increases we had. And it's something that I think in the chair's budget, this was, I think, a lot larger number was put in for that. So again, I want to thank everybody. And I think right now, this is the prudent course, is to stay what we have and not put any more increases on our employees.
Yeah. And thank you, member Zay, for those comments. Yes. And we did, I think what we budgeted and what Marsh McLennan came up with was an $8 million difference. And that's huge. So really great job on Marsh McLennan's behalf. So member Eckhoff.
Thank you. Hope we didn't miss any of the answers to the questions I'm about to ask, but it seemed over the last couple of years, we we're trying to drive people out of the PPO and into HMO, and I didn't hear you talk about that today. Is that still our goal?
It's still the goal, but you're right. When we look at the distribution of the enrollment over the last few years, we have seen just the opposite effect. So in spite of elevated contributions, significantly different, higher contributions for the PPO, we are seeing an influx of employees electing that option.
So if that's still our goal, what are we doing wrong?
I don't think you're doing anything wrong. I think it comes down to the decision of, do I want to be part of an HMO with a primary care physician that's directing all care versus do I want open access? And some people have some significant healthcare needs and they will pay for that open access.
And then the ability of children who are up to 26 years old. You said there was I thought there was something to do with college and there was dissatisfaction from the employees. What's the dissatisfaction based?
Yeah. Today, in order to enroll those dependent children under the age of 26 on the dental and vision, they have to be full-time college students. And so producing the evidence of at the time we do open enrollment, the time school
A
commences.
report card, a canceled check.
Yeah, the HR team can probably speak more to that, but it's just a very clumsy process and a dissatisfier for the employees.
All right. And then my only other question, I thought on one of your slides, you showed that there was a zero deductible.
On the HMO, that's correct.
So for is that an annual zero deductible or?
That's correct. Yeah. So for
That's
the
normal
That'll
for
come back to me
most
in a second.
plans?
benchmark would be closer to $500 on an HMO plan.
And how much would that save us if we put that in?
We looked at, I believe, maybe half of that and just elevating it from 0 to 250. And the value, yes, is, you can see $53,000 annually.
It just seems like, I mean, if we've always done that, I guess I don't want to take it away, but it seems like a benefit that I don't really hear a whole lot about in the private sector.
Yeah.
Is that common in the private sector?
So to your point, and I want to correct myself, see, in the right-hand margin, we've got national benchmark data for HMOs, all national employers. So it's going to be heavy private sector. You can see the deductible at $800 for benchmark.
I would just say, I guess, going forward in the future to keep our costs down, we want to put something in there instead of zero. All right, thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to go to Member Desart, Member Ozak, and then Member Galassi. So Member Desart.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you, Chris, for your presentation. I love the way that you break down, sometimes complex issues into understandable information. And so I appreciate your presentation and your time. One of the things I wanted to clarify is what Member Eckhoff, most of my questions have been asked and answered, but Member Eckhoff brought up a point that I was going to bring up about the college surcharge. And I understand it's cumbersome to go back and get the information about who's in college and who's not, if they're full-time or not. But one of our members here today mentioned creating a system whereby if a student 26 and under is working and they have access to their own insurance to make sure they get on their own insurance. However, wouldn't that even be more cumbersome to go to every employer and say, hey, is this 26 and under, are they eligible for insurance? I mean, that doesn't even seem possible to me. It would be such a cumbersome process.
Yeah, you're right. And let me just build onto that. So today, for the medical prescription drug program, the Affordable Care Act mandates that we covered dependent children under the age of 26, period. College status, working status, doesn't matter. Medical pharmacy, children under the age of 26. So if we were to do something different for the medical or for the dental vision, then that's going to be even more convoluted process.
Okay, thank you. Question that I had about the pharmacies. I know last year we made the change. And I'm asking about this because this affects me personally. It's September and I'm still not on a good schedule with my pharmacy yet. So CVS was closed off to us and we had to go to a different pharmacy. And I'm wondering, not a dollar figure, but did it save us that much money really?
We'll have to look at the utilization as we get closer to the end of the year. Based on the number, the year-to-date plan performance, it would seem to indicate that the decrement that we had applied towards that modification has proved out, but we won't really know until the end of the year.
Okay, thank you. And finally, I just want to say that I totally agree with members A and, getting and keeping employees, pardon me? Oh, getting and keeping employees is important to us. And so I like the split that we have right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Desart. Member Ozak.
I think my question was answered, but I want to clarify. So under the Affordable Care Act, pharmacy and medical, but there is no provision for vision and dental.
That's exactly right.
Okay, thank you. For under 26.
Yeah.
Under
Thanks.
26, yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Member Ozak. Member Galassi?
Thank you, Madam Chair. This kind of parlays off of Member Evans and Member Krajewski's question, or maybe it was Eckhoff. But if we're trying to encourage people to stay or choose the HMO, but the HMO has a more restrictive prescription drug availability on it, I forget the term you use for that. I'm assuming you've done the analysis as to if we increase the availability of the prescription drugs in the HMO to encourage more of the PPO participants to move to the HMO, that's cost prohibitive?
It would be cost prohibitive, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And I don't know if this is accurate or not, but as our county employee population is aging a little bit, sometimes that might be pushing them to the PPO as well.
Yeah, we know that as we get older, we tend to use more healthcare services.
Right.
And I think that employees look at their annual decision just a little bit differently.
And they might even see that some of the drugs that they may not were eligible for on the HMO are eligible on the PPO. So it's kind of, we're in a catch 22 or whatever you call, right? Because we want people to come off the PPO, but the HMO may not have that broad appeal that some of our employees are looking for. Okay, so do we have any other questions? Well, I just want to thank Chris and Nick and Jeff and Chris and the HR team and Member Zay. We did work hard on this, and it was a priority to try to keep an increase as low as possible or not increase at all, because, you know, I'm repeating what everybody said, but it is important. We want to try to retain our employees and not increasing our benefits. And if they get a little COLA this year, that'll be very nice for them. And then they'll go out and tell everybody what a great place DuPage County is to work for. So thank you so much, Chris. Thanks everyone. Okay, so with that, we are going to move on to the approval of minutes. Can I have a motion on 24, 23, 48 Finance Committee regular meeting, Tuesday, August 27th? I had a motion by Member Childress and a second by Member Guston. Any correction or changes to the minutes? All those in favor? Opposed? The motion carries. We move on to item number 7, budget transfers. Can I have a motion on FIR 15724 budget transfers 9/10/2024 from various companies and accounting units? I had a motion by Member Guston, a second by Member Childress. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? The motion carries. We move on to procurement, and I'm going to call on Member Garcia this morning.
Thank you. I make a motion to approve PWCO 000624 amendment to county contract issued to Paladine Inc. to supply polymer for both the Woodridge, Green Valley, and Knollwood wastewater treatment plants for Public Works for a change order to increase the contract in the amount of $90,000, taking the original contract amount of $248,811.76, resulting in an amended contract amount not to exceed $338,811.76, an increase of 36.17%.
I have a motion by Member Garcia, a second by Member Yu. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Member Garcia?
I make a motion to approve PWP 002124, recommendation for the approval of a contract purchase order to Institute Form Technologies USA, Inc. to rehabilitate water and sewer lines in various locations across DuPage County Public Works and the county complex for Public Works for the period of September 10th, 2024 to November 30th, 2024 for a total contract amount not to exceed $647,198.
I have a motion by Member Garcia, a second by Member Covert. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries.
I make a motion to approve PWP 002224, recommendation for the approval of a contract purchase order to HOERR Construction for rehabilitation of manholes throughout the sewer and water system in DuPage County for Public Works for the period of September 10th, 2024 to June 30th, 2025 for a total contract amount not to exceed $139,671.
I have a motion by Member Garcia, second by Member Yu. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, the motion carries. Member Garcia.
And I make a motion to approve PWP 002324 recommendation for the approval of contract to Paladine Inc. to deliver polymer for both the Woodridge Green Valley and No Water Wastewater Treatment Facilities for Public Works for the period of November 1st, 2024 to October 31st, 2025 for a total contract amount not to exceed $350,000.
I have a motion by member Garcia, a second by member Yu. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, member Garcia. We move on to stormwater and member Zay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Move on 24-2304, an amendment to resolution SMP 6123 issued to Earthworks Land Improvement and Development for Country Club Highlands Phase 2 drainage improvements. The amount increased $153,653.58, resulting in an increase of 5.69%.
Okay, I have a motion by member Zay, a second by member Guston. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Member Zay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move on SMP 23-24, contract issued with the Conservation Foundation for Professional Education Services from a period of September 10th, 2024 through to September 30th, 2025. The amount not to exceed $77,000.
Okay, I had a motion by member Zay and I had a second by member Cahill. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, member Zay.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
We move on to transportation with member Ozak.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move for approval of DTR 003224 intergovernmental agreement between the County of DuPage and the Illinois Department of Transportation for improvements along Illinois 64 from Smith Cows Road to York Street with a total estimated cost of engineering and construction $14,452,688. Estimated county cost of $221,088.
I have a motion by member Ozak, a second by member Garcia. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, member Ozak. We move on to finance resolutions and I'll call on member Krajewski.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Move on FIO 0004-24, determining the compensation of the DuPage County Public Defender.
I have a motion by member Krajewski, a second by member Guston. Any discussion? Member Desart.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just had a comment and, maybe something for us to consider. The state's attorney received a salary increase July 1st, 2024, and the law tying the salaries of the state's attorney and the public defender, I've read that. So I'm wondering if the public defender's salary increase will be effective as of today, but I'm wondering if we should make it go retroactive to July 1st, 2024.
Jason will come up here and address that.
Good morning. Thank you, Madam Chair. At this moment, the resolution is written to make it effective today if it passes county board. Yes.
Yes, I know that it is written that way. I saw the resolution in the packet. I'm wondering if this board has the appetite to go back and make it retroactive to July 1st.
Second.
Well, are you making a motion, member Desart, to make it retroactive?
Sure, I make motion to make the public defender's salary increase be retroactive to July 1st to equal the state's attorney's compensation. Thank you.
Okay, so I have a motion. Okay. Yes. I have a motion by member Desart and a second by member Krajewski to amend this motion to make it retroactive back to July 1st, 2024. Discussion. Member Evans.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My question is if it's just going to be an administrative complication if we do that?
We have done retroactive pay before this. That would not be unusual.
Okay, member Schwarzy.
Is this finance? I mean, is this fly through the finance office and stuff? I mean, we have the money.
Yes. Madam Chair, if I can make one comment to that. We do get reimbursed 66 2/3% of the public defender's salary by the state of Illinois. So yes, it's a negligible change in that regard.
Thank you, member Schwarzy. Member Krajewski.
I was going to ask under the discussion, but we can do it here in the amendment. I just thought, because we kind of seem to do this every year, that maybe we just make it permanent that when this cost of living comes out from the state's attorney or the state of Illinois for this state's attorney, that this board also puts in there that the public defender will get the same that the state does.
Yes, I believe that's a Good idea.
So the only thing I'll ask is that, would you want to start that next year, or do you want me to get it to where we were right this?
But
Okay.
I think in the future, because we do this every year, we just bring it
Mhm.
sometime during the year that we will make it effective. We'll tie it to
Yeah,
the state. When the state comes out with the state's attorney, we do the same thing for the public defense.
I will make sure that I have in my notes for next year on the resolution and have that adjusted accordingly.
Full year to work on it, Jason.
Okay, great. Any other questions on the amendment? Okay, seeing none, all in favor? Opposed, the motion carries. And now we go back and can I have, we have a motion and second on the original, on the amendment, which we voted on. Okay. Okay, so Brian moved to amend, has amended, and who seconded that? Second by member Guston. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, the motion carries. Okay. Okay, all right, great. Yep, okay, great. Thank you. With that, member Krajewski, please
Thank you,
proceed.
Madam Chair. I move on FIR 0150-24, acceptance appropriation, Illinois Court Commission, the Access to Justice Grant for $3,000.
I have a motion by member Krajewski, a second by member Guston. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed, the motion carries. Member Krajewski.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move on FIR 0151-24, acceptance of the York Township Drinking Water Expansion Project Grant in the amount of $300,000 with a required cost share of an additional $75,000.
A motion by member Krajewski, second by member Cahill. Member you.
Thank you, Chair. I just had a quick question because I wasn't able to go to Public Works and ask there. This York Township expansion project, is it about just rehabilitating pipes? How is it
We'll have
being
Nick come up.
expanded?
Thank you, Nick.
Thank you, Nick.
Oh, great question. This grant money will be used to expand our York Township water system out there. So we will actually, it's actually doing the design to bring Lake Michigan water to an entirely new subdivision.
That's, does that mean that they were on well water before?
Yes, they're on private law.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yes, so, yeah. Any other discussion on this? Yeah, this is really a great project, as we move to get people off well water onto Lake Michigan water. This is really, thank you, Public Works team. Yeah, member Garcia, go ahead.
I should know this and I don't know it off the top of my head. Which subdivision are we talking about in that district? Sorry, Nick.
So if the York Township water system, Congress Knolls, which is right below where the York Township building is, that's the one where we're going to be designing for a new water system. And ultimately this subdivision, then once we have it designed, previously over the years, they've come close to moving forward with an SSA. This will give them very exact numbers, reduce the overall cost of it, and they can decide moving forward.
Yeah, yeah, it's great to get that infrastructure in. So when people want to make that transition, it's right there for them. Okay, so any other discussion on this item? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, the motion carries. Member Krajewski.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move to combine items 9D through G, which are all additional appropriation or acceptance and appropriation resolutions.
Okay, I have a motion to combine items D through G. A motion by member Krajewski, second by member Guston. All in favor? Okay, opposed? Okay, the items are combined. Please proceed, member
Thank you, Madam
Krajewski.
Chair. I move on FIR 0152-24, additional appropriation for the DuPage Care Center Foundation Music Therapy Grant going from $82,263 to $89,405, an increase of $7,142. I move on FIR 0153-24, acceptance appropriation of the DuPage Care Center Foundation Music Therapy Grant in the amount of $58,701. I move on FIR 0155-24, acceptance and appropriation of the Officer Recruitment and Retention Grant Intergovernmental Agreement for $50,001 in the Sheriff's Office. And then I move on last FIR 0156-24, acceptance appropriation of the Adult Redeployment Illinois Program Grant Intergovernmental Agreement $441,974, which is probation and court services.
Okay, I have a motion by member Krajewski, second by member Desart. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? The motion carries. Member Krajewski.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move on FIR 0159-24, approval of employee compensation job classification adjustments for annual services.
Okay, I have a motion by member Krajewski, a second by member Garcia. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Member Krajewski.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move on FIR 0160-24, authorization and transfer and appropriate $10 million in additional funds from the general fund to the tort liability fund for fiscal year 2024.
I have a motion by Member Krajewski, a second by Member Guston. Any discussion? Member you?
So thank you, Chair. With regard to these additional funds from the general fund to the tort liability fund, is it coming in from contingencies or from reserve?
Reserves.
From
Reserves,
reserve.
correct, yes.
Plus,
I just spoke with Jeff this morning. I believe he said reserve.
So to answer your question, the money is coming from our reserves right now, but the plan is that by our projections show by the end of 2024, this fiscal year, we'll be able to replenish that money in our reserves.
So in full, the 10 million, we're gonna be able to.
It will
replenish
be in full, we'll be able to replenish that.
All right, thank you.
Any other discussion? Member Krajewski?
what's your projected surplus right now to date and what we're going to finish the year at?
I think we were at $21 million.
I know sales tax was down on 900.
Well, sales tax was down,
last
yeah.
month, but- so about 21 million right now.
That was as of about a month ago.
And I know next month it'll change based on numbers coming in, but
I-
right now we're looking at 21 million.
I hope, yeah.
Keep in mind, that is before you do the tort liability and the animal.
Right, no, I understand.
So,
Right.
yes.
So before these two here, it's approximately 21 right now. Okay.
I mean, and and thank goodness we have these surpluses because otherwise this might be difficult to do. Does anybody else have any comments on this? Because I really think that when we have, we need to provide more clarity on large appropriations. And I understand that there needs to be, certain details need to be confidential because of pending litigation. But I also believe that we need to strike a balance so that our constituents know in general where this money is going and why it's needed. I mean, I also believe that any settlement involving public funds, they need to be disclosed publicly, whether it's on the item agenda has an informational item or whether we take a public vote on it. But when we make these settlements and there is no public disclosure, nobody knows what's happening with this money. And as I said, I believe we owe it to our constituents after, these are done, that there is some public disclosure. And that's my comments on them. So without any other discussion, Member Desart?
Thank you. This doesn't have to do with this particular expenditure, other than Jeff just said that what we don't use the money will go back into reserves. And I just want to say what Nick told me yesterday is that if it goes back in reserves, it's only because this board votes for it to go back in reserves. So when it's time to put the money back in reserve, I'm talking in a circle, aren't I? When it's time to put the money back, if that's this board's wish, then it needs to go back on the agenda so we actually know that it can go back in reserves, right?
Yeah, when you make the $10 million tort liability transfer, it will go into tort liability fund. It will be in that tort liability fund until this board takes another action to move it out of that tort liability fund. And so it is fiscally conservative to do exactly what we're doing. That money is going to be reserved for many, many different purposes.
All right, thank you, Nick. I just wanted the board to know that it's not automatic.
Yeah, but the money is actually, this 10 million that we're transferring is for pending litigation.
There's no litigation has been settled or anything that we have right now. I mean, obviously it's for many different purposes.
Thank you. Okay, Member Krajewski?
Yeah, I think we've been through this before, but our tort liability fund is just a pot of money that's there. We have a number of ongoing litigations and everything's publicly disclosed because Baker Tilly has to put in there. They send a letter to the state's attorney wanting to know all the pending litigation out there because if there's potential, they have to put that in there as liabilities. They'll ask what the pending litigation is. It'll be in our audit report. And then over time, years and years go back 20, 30 years ago, if we've made a payout, it's online in the checkbook. I mean, it shows
I will say it's not just litigation out of this thing. We have our insurance premiums are out of here. We have personnel that are paid out of here.
Work comp claims. I
Workers' comp is paid out of here.
We-
Our safety program is paid out of here. So there's a lot of different expenses paid out of this program.
And once one becomes known and if we have to pay it, it comes out of that fund.
Thank you. Member you?
Can I ask how much was in the tort liability fund before we put this $10 million in? Where are we at right now?
7.8 million.
And historically, is this the highest number that we've put into tort liability fund?
For a single transfer, absolutely.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Member you. Member Cahill?
I just wanted to follow up with Member Krajewski and say that as a review of subsequent events, the auditor will go to the attorneys and ask of any pending litigation that will affect the financial statement. So it is publicly disclosed. There is public disclosure, and I want to make sure that we are aware of that. There's certain things that obviously they can't disclose for a certain period of time. The state's attorney has to hold that back, and that's why we look in our executive sessions as to what can be released or not. But everything is public disclosure. So I just want to confirm that.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions on this item? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Member Krajewski?
Yes, last I move on FIR 0161-20 for authorization to transfer and appropriate 4.5 million additional funds from the general fund to the animal services fund for fiscal year 2024.
I have a motion by Member Krajewski, second by Member Desart. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? The motion carries. Okay, we move on to informational. Member Krajewski.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move on number 10, informational items, receive and place on file. A, payment of claims. B, appointments, and C, grant proposal notifications.
I have a motion by Member Krajewski and a second by Member Guston to receive and place in file items A, B, and C under informational. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Do we have any old business? Do we have any new business? Okay, without objection, we're adjourned.